Welcome to Dark Vision, your gateway to real horror stories that will keep you awake at night. Tonight, we're taking you into the unsettling world of hotels, places that should feel safe, but sometimes hide dark secrets behind their doors. These stories are not fiction. These are true encounters shared by travelers who thought they were just checking into a room. But what they experienced, it was something far more sinister. If you dare, stay with us as we explore 3 scary real hotel horror stories. Story 1, The Room That Wasn't There. It started as a simple business trip. Amanda, a marketing executive from Seattle, had a long week of meetings, and all she wanted was a quiet night in her hotel room. She booked a room at a small, locally owned hotel in a city she wasn't familiar with. The lobby was quaint, the kind of place that felt cozy but slightly outdated. There was an odd smell of disinfectant mixed with old carpet, but Amanda brushed it off. She traveled enough to know hotels always have a weird scent. After checking in, she was given the key to room 214. The elevator creaked as she rode to the second floor, and the hallway felt longer than it should have been, but Amanda didn't think much of it. Jet lag can do that to your mind. When she opened the door, the room was off. The lights flickered once, and the furniture seemed to be arranged awkwardly. A chair faced the wall instead of the window, and the mirror above the dresser reflected a shadow in the corner that didn't belong. Amanda told herself she was imagining things. She unpacked her bag and tried to ignore the unease crawling up her spine. Later, she turned on the TV, hoping the sound would distract her. That's when she heard it, a faint scratching sound from the bathroom. Amanda froze. The sound didn't seem like plumbing. It was more like nails scraping against tile. Heart pounding, she slowly approached the bathroom. The light was off, so she clicked the switch. Nothing. Just the bathroom. The shower curtain hung straight, towels folded neatly. She exhaled in relief until she noticed the door to the small closet inside the bathroom. It was slightly ajar. Amanda swore she had closed it. Curiosity and fear drove her to peek inside. The closet was empty except for an old ironing board and a few hangers. But then she saw something written on the wall, in red, like it had been painted with lipstick. "You should not be here." Amanda's blood ran cold. She slammed the closet door shut and backed out. She grabbed her phone to call the front desk. But there was no signal. Her Wi-Fi was dead too. And that's when she noticed it. The number on her keycard didn't match the room she was in. The key said 214, but the door number outside read 312. Confused and panicking, Amanda ran down the hallway. Every floor seemed unfamiliar now. The elevators weren't working. Doors led to empty hallways that seemed to stretch on forever. And then she heard it. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, following her. When she finally made it back to the lobby, it was empty. The receptionist was gone. The hotel smelled older, almost rotten now, and the check-in desk was coated in a thin layer of dust, like it hadn't been used in years. Amanda never stayed in a hotel alone again. Amanda didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of air from the vents made her jump. She tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, stress from traveling, or maybe the result of sleeping in an unfamiliar bed. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. By early morning, Amanda decided to leave. She grabbed her suitcase and rushed toward the exit, only to find the front doors locked. Panic rose sharply. She rattled the handles, pounded on the glass, shouted for help, but nothing. No response. The lobby lights flickered. Shadows moved in corners, though the room was empty. She ran to the elevator, hoping to take the stairs as an alternative. When she pressed the button, the elevator opened immediately, but instead of descending, it stopped, leaving her staring into a pitch-black shaft. The smell of decay hit her like a wall. Amanda backed away slowly, heart hammering in her chest. Then she heard it, a faint whisper, almost like someone breathing her name. "Amanda?" The voice was soft, childlike, but laced with something darker, something that made her skin crawl. She turned, expecting to see someone, but the hallway was empty. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, yet no exit seemed to exist anymore. The doors, the elevator, the stairs, they all led to the same endless hallways. Amanda decided to confront the room she had stayed in. She ran back to room 214, or what she thought was 214. The hallway stretched infinitely, but she finally found the door. The keycard worked perfectly. She entered, and the lights flickered violently. The closet door swung open slowly, as if inviting her. Inside, the writing on the wall had multiplied. Words were scrawled all over. Y-O-U-C-A and leave. They are watching. She never left. Amanda felt icy fingers brush her shoulder. She spun around, but the room was empty. Shaking, she grabbed the door handle to leave, only to realize the door wouldn't budge. It was locked from the outside. Panic consumed her. She pounded on the door, screamed, but there was no one to hear. Hours, or maybe days, passed. Time lost all meaning. She began to see figures in the corners of her vision, shadowy silhouettes, moving just beyond the reach of the light. She tried to write messages on her phone, but every text she sent vanished. The air was thick, almost alive, pressing down on her chest. Then, as if answering some unseen command, the figures moved closer. She could hear them whispering now, chanting, the words indistinguishable but suffocating. Amanda curled in a corner, shaking and sobbing, her back pressed against the wall. She felt a cold hand grip her ankle. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the room. Finally, the next morning, or what she thought was morning, the door swung open. Amanda ran without looking back. She burst into a hallway that looked normal this time, the lobby in sight. The receptionist was there, smiling faintly, handing a new guest their key. Amanda didn't stop. She ran out to the street, never looking back at the hotel again. She later tried to report what had happened, but the hotel's address no longer existed. Maps showed empty lots. No one remembered a hotel there. Even the key card, which she had kept, had faded completely, blank, with no number. Amanda never stayed in hotels alone again, and sometimes, late at night, she swears she hears whispering voices calling her name, and a shadowy figure standing just inside a doorway that doesn't exist. Story 2. The guest who never checked out. It was supposed to be a simple weekend getaway for Marcus and his girlfriend Jenna. They had booked a charming old hotel in a small mountain town, one of those historic places with creaking floors, antique furniture, and a reputation for quaint, old-world charm. From the moment they arrived, something felt off. The lobby smelled faintly of mildew and tobacco smoke, though the hotel claimed to be smoke-free. The receptionist was polite but distant, her eyes lingering on Marcus just a little too long before she handed over their room key. Room 7. Their room was on the top floor, accessible only by a narrow staircase. As they carried their bags up, Marcus noticed that every room on the corner had a small brass plaque with the guest's name. But when he reached room 7, the plaque read, "Vacant since 1943. Marcus laughed it off, assuming it was some leftover decoration. The room itself was surprisingly well kept, with floral wallpaper peeling slightly at the edges, an old writing desk, and a heavy wooden bed. But the feeling of being watched never left him. That night, Marcus woke up to a soft humming. At first, he thought it was Jenna, but she was fast asleep beside him. The sound was coming from the corner of the room, near the closet. When he shined his phone flashlight, the closet door slowly creaked open. Inside was a single faded coat hanging on a hook, but the humming continued, low and sorrowful. The next morning, Marcus mentioned it to Jenna. She laughed, saying it was probably just an old building settling. But Marcus couldn't shake the unease. Over the next day, they noticed other oddities. The hotel seemed almost frozen in time. The furniture and decor were decades old, yet spotless. The hallways were silent, eerily so. Guests walked by occasionally, but their faces were pale, almost translucent, and they never spoke, just glided past as if part of the walls themselves. That evening, Marcus returned to their room after dinner to find a note on the desk. It was written in shaky, almost childlike handwriting. "You shouldn't be here. He's still here." Jenna thought it was a prank, but Marcus felt his blood run cold. They both heard it then, a slow, deliberate knocking from the bathroom. They went to investigate, but the room was empty. As the night deepened, the events grew stranger. Objects moved on their own, lights flickered, and that humming returned. But now, it wasn't just coming from the closet. It was all around them, echoing through the walls. Marcus decided to confront the source. He opened the closet fully and stepped inside. The room seemed to shift, stretching unnaturally. The walls warped, and he found himself staring at Another version of the room. Faded figures of guests lingered in corners, all staring directly at him. Among them was a man in a worn suit, with hollow eyes and a permanent, sinister smile. The man pointed at Marcus, and in a voice like rusted metal scraping wood, he whispered, "You'll never leave?" He never did. Marcus stumbled back, heart racing, dragging Jenna with him. They tried the door, but it wouldn't open. Panic consumed them. The figures began to move closer, their eyes hollow, their smiles stretching unnaturally wide. Hours, or maybe minutes, Marcus couldn't tell, passed as they searched the room. Eventually, the figures receded, and the door unlocked as if nothing had happened. Marcus and Jenna ran, never looking back. The next day, the hotel was normal. The brass plaque outside room 7 simply read, "Vacant." The receptionist smiled politely, and all the other guests were chatting happily in the lobby. Marcus tried to explain what happened to her, but she only shook her head. "Room 7 has been empty for decades. No one stayed there since the original guest," she said softly, her eyes distant. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He swore he heard humming, faint but unmistakable, echoing in his apartment, and when he glanced at the brass key he kept as a souvenir, it was tarnished, old, and stamped with 1943. Even now, Marcus avoids hotels entirely, but sometimes, when he passes an old building, he hears the faintest humming, and he knows he was never alone. Story 3. The hotel room that watched me. Ethan had been traveling for work for years. Hotels were nothing new to him, but this trip to a mid-sized city in the Midwest promised something different. A quaint boutique hotel, rated highly online, with glowing reviews about its privacy and exceptional service. He arrived late in the evening. The lobby smelled faintly of lavender, and soft jazz played from hidden speakers. The receptionist smiled warmly, handing him a key for room 312. "Enjoy your stay," she said, but there was something in her tone. A hint of hesitation, a fleeting shadow crossing her eyes, that Ethan didn't notice at the time. The room was spotless, modern yet cozy, with a king-sized bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Ethan unpacked his bag and settled in, ready to work for a few hours before sleep, but the moment he sat down, he felt a strange unease. It was subtle at first, the sensation that someone, or something, was observing him. He shrugged it off. Perhaps he was just tired from traveling. That night, as he lay in bed scrolling through his phone, he noticed something odd. The reflection of the room in the window. Only it wasn't right. The curtains were closed in the reflection, though they were open in reality. The shadow of a figure lingered near the desk. Ethan froze. He turned on the light. Nothing. Just the desk, laptop, and a neatly stacked pile of hotel brochures. The next morning, Ethan went to the lobby to mention the odd reflection. The receptionist smiled politely. "Everything okay with your room?" she asked. "Yes. Just the windows," he said. "I thought I saw someone." She nodded slowly. "Some rooms have their quirks. Nothing to worry about." But Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Cameras, perhaps. He looked around discreetly, but saw nothing. No visible surveillance, no warning signs. Just the faint hum of the city outside. That night, the terror escalated. Ethan was in the shower when he heard a soft click behind him. He thought it was the bathroom door, but it wasn't. The mirror fogged as he washed, and then words appeared on the glass. "I see you." Heart pounding, Ethan spun around. No one was there. He grabbed a towel and ran to the bedroom. The laptop screen was on. The browser had opened to a live camera feed of his own room. From above, Ethan froze. Someone, or something, was watching him from the inside. He called the front desk, demanding answers. The receptionist's voice was calm, almost unnervingly so. "There are no cameras in your room, sir. Perhaps it's your imagination." But Ethan wasn't imagining it. That night, every light in the room flickered. Shadows moved unnaturally. The temperature dropped. He could hear the faintest breathing from the corner, slow, deliberate, waiting. At 3 a.m., Ethan heard a soft whisper. "Don't leave. Yet." The voice was distorted, almost mechanical. It came from everywhere at once. Ethan's phone died abruptly. The window blinds slammed shut, though he hadn't touched them. The room felt alive, the walls contracting slightly, the bed shifting as if something beneath it was moving. By morning, Ethan was a wreck. He ran to the lobby to check out, vowing never to stay in that hotel again. But the receptionist merely smiled, handing him the bill. "Did you enjoy your stay?" she asked. Ethan's hands trembled as he paid. "There were cameras," he stammered. "No, sir. Cameras are not allowed in the rooms," she replied smoothly. "Perhaps your mind is tired from traveling." Ethan left, but he couldn't escape what he experienced. That night, in his own apartment, he noticed something terrifying. On his laptop, a live feed had opened, showing the inside of room 312 perfectly empty, but for a shadow moving slowly across the room, approaching the camera. Ethan never traveled for work again. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees the shadow, hears the whisper, and feels those unseen eyes watching him. Hotels are meant to be safe places, a temporary home away from home. But sometimes, the walls hold secrets, the shadows have eyes, and the rooms are far darker than they seem. Remember these stories next time you check in, because you never really know what's waiting behind the door. If you want more dark and chilling tales that will haunt your nights, make sure to subscribe to Dark Vision and turn on notifications.